Hey, welcome to Beyond Time Management. I'm Dr. Lon Schiffbauer, and this is Module 10, Building Resilience Through Failure. In our previous module, we talked about how to overcome those bouts of procrastination that tend to get in our way. It happens to all of us. As a matter of fact, they happen so often that from time to time, we are bound to fail. And it's at these times that, we're going to be kind of, despondent, get down on ourselves, and maybe even tempted to throw in the towel. We don't want to do that. So that's why we are talking about building resilience through the act of failing. And you know what? Let's talk about failure for a moment. It has gotten such a bad rap. It's how we learn. It is the learning process. It's not part of the learning process. It is the learning process. By definition, learning means getting better than you were before, which means failing at what you did before so that you can progress. You get the point. You see a little toddler learning to walk and so forth. I mean, every time the toddler falls, you don't berate the kid and say, what a horrible failure you are and so forth. You say, you can get up, you can do it. Because each time they get up, they do better. That is how failure is part of the learning process. Still, we demonize it. It has gotten such a bad rap. Failure is associated with shame and frustration, disappointment, self-doubt. And, I don't know about you, but these are all emotions I want to avoid. And so, because we associate them with failure, we want to avoid failure. And that gets in the way of us learning. More importantly, to the point of this series, it gets in the way of us being successful. And think of it this way. Failure is really nothing more than feedback. And once again, feedback is integral to the learning and development process. Failure is simply feedback, a source of data. Not a moral judgment of one's worth. It's just, hey, you tried this. This is what worked. This is what didn't. Make your adjustments. Try again. Failure is also part of what we call practice. Practice makes perfect. I don't like the word perfect, but the point is, in order to succeed at what we set before us, we need to practice. Practice is how we learn, grow, and develop. The only difference between practice and failure is intent and acceptance of the process. With practice, we know we're not doing it right. With each movement of the bow, with each toss of the ball, we know that by definition, we are failing. But we don't see it as failing. We see it as learning. And learning is totally awesome. And if learning is totally awesome, why isn't failure equally as awesome? If you're failing forward. This is why resilience is so crucial. Resilience is what allows us to get back up, pick up the balls, pick up the bow again, whatever it is that you're doing, right? Resilience is what keeps us moving forward. And so let's talk about that. First, by way of definition, resilience is the ability to adapt, learn, and grow from challenges and setbacks. It's about developing the mental and emotional strength to turn obstacles into opportunities, emerging stronger, wiser, and more capable each time. I don't know about you, but that sounds pretty darn awesome. Now, with resilience comes adaptability, the ability to adjust your approach when circumstances change or plans fail. And trust me, plans are gonna fail. Finally, in kind of this trio, we have perseverance, staying committed to your goals even when progress feels slow, difficult, or even non-existent. Sometimes it just doesn't look like you're moving forward, but you persevere anyway. Okay, so with those definitions in hand, let's talk about 5 strategies for developing resilience. First, and we already kind of alluded to this, we want to reflect and learn. Remember, it's not failure, it's data. So when we fail, we want to kind of figure out, what went wrong? What did I learn? What can I do differently next time? This is the learning process. This is what helps us build resilience. We also want to maintain a growth mindset. Now, we're not going to go super deep into this in this series, but it's something worth researching on your own because a growth mindset can be so powerful. It's essentially taking on the mindset that I am always progressing, I am always learning, I am always improving, I am always developing myself. Whereas a fixed mindset, the opposite of a growth mindset, basically says, this is as smart as I will ever be. I will never be smarter. So if I try something and I fail, that means I can't do it. I don't have the skills. I'll never get the skills. I'm not smart enough. I'm not clever enough. And so I'm not even going to try. That's a fixed mindset, and we don't want a fixed mindset. Another way to develop resiliency is to actually act on the failure, to adapt your plan. Use the feedback to rethink your strategies and tactics. See it as an opportunity to innovate. Remember, each time we fail, we're getting new information. We're understanding the environment and the challenge better than we did before. And, well, with understanding comes perhaps opportunities. Each time you fail, look for the opportunity that was hidden there within. The next strategy is to turn to your support systems. Consult with peers, mentors, and communities to process the feedback, understand the lessons it taught, and integrate them into your processes. Sometimes we're our own worst enemy and we kind of get down on ourselves. We shouldn't. You should be your best friend. But that's not the way it always works. Sometimes turning to others and kind of talking through our failures with them helps us understand the information in a new light and can even embolden us to taking the next steps that were we left on our own, we might just walk away from, taking the steps the wrong way. Finally, let it ignite you. Sometimes a failure is exactly what you need to reignite your passion for the project and recommit fully. In a past life, I used to do Ironman triathlons, and there was one triathlon I did that I didn't train properly for it. And I DNF'd. I did not finish. And, back in the day, used to say, oh, better dead than DNF. Well, that's not true. I'd rather be alive than DNF. But the shame I felt, the failure that I felt really fired me up. And so I immediately signed up for the next Ironman. And oh my gosh, my training was next level. I was so angry at myself that I just poured everything into my training. And the next Ironman I had was my best ever. So yeah, it pissed me off and reignited my passion for the sport, which I've since lost because I overtrained and it was just too much. And it's so much. Sorry. Let's move on. So at this point, if you're doing all these things, you are really doing awesome stuff. And no doubt, you have a whole treasure trove of wins. And it's actually really important for us to review these on a regular basis. And so that's what we're going to talk about in our next module, reviewing, reassessing, and celebrating our wins. So we're getting there, folks. Stick with me and let's see this through to the end, all right? Okay, so that's all I've got for today. So go off and make some trouble, and we'll talk again soon.